Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Replacing Regulator washers, clothes transferring through the gas post, and maximizing my brew day. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 309. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I'm your host, Joshua Stubing, joined as always by my co-host. He is the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Todd, we got to talk about etiquette during the show.
I'm trying to send you this so you have it for the show.
But the iPad, first off, it doesn't work that way. I can't just get your message and load it. But secondly, the device, let me start killing the music. I'm so flustered. We're doing the intro, and all of a sudden my iPad blip blip, which I thought, how do you do a do not disturb on iPad? It's Todd sending photos, but not to me, to my Google Photos account. If you were to just texted it to me like you did the final time, are you getting my text? You knew it was annoying me, didn't you? You can see it on my face. So not only the poor people at Imperial, their ad, this ad is brought to you by Imperial Yeast, because of your text the first time, and then the second Google Photos.
I just assumed you had turned off your devices and you were paying attention to the show.
That, you know what? Shame on me. Fool me once. Shame on me. I'm going to figure out, I need listener feedback on how to, an iOS device, how do you put it in do not disturb so it doesn't give me interruptions, because the whole soundboard we run, or that I run, is off this iPad mini, and I've never had that issue because you didn't share it via text. You shared it direct to my Google Photos account, which I didn't know you could do, but you figured it out. Thank you for doing that.
I didn't either, but I know now.
Yeah, I was just shocked you got an Apple product. That's amazing.
Oh no, I have a bunch in the house, but like they're iPads. No, the phones, yeah. I like the Pixel for the phone, but no, iPads. There's not really an equivalent to the iPad, and especially the Mini. This is a couple generations old because it still has the headphone jack. That's why I kept buying that. And my kids all have the last generation of plain iPad because, again, the headphone jack. Now, right. There's not going to be an Apple device, period, with the headphone jack going forward. I think this generation was the first one this year's where they're all changing to USB-C, I believe, and no more headphone jacks for any of them.
It's so good they're changing to USB-C.
I agree with that completely. My wife's iPad Pro has been USB-C for a few years, so that just helps me not have to keep various cables around. USB-Cs, the standard.
It's such a good system too.
It is. Yeah. It's very, And again, when most of the devices you're buying now have them or can be powered by them or whatever, it's good.
Yeah, it'll be nice when everything you have is the same, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, comrade. I look forward to
I mean, they dictated that in Europe. I know that's why Apple changed. But I know that we are not fans of being dictated to. But I'm glad the Europeans are, so we could get some the right charger.
You know what? The EU and I feel like California are the two most determining entities of our, like, things that affect us. Like, we have to put prop warnings on various products when California determines them to need warning labels. And you're like, oh, well, it's just California making it. Yeah, but we sell in California because we're an online business. So we have to start plastering everything. According to the state of California, the sound of Josh's voice causes ear cancer. I have to put that on every episode. It's terrible. But we do have to label things and whatnot. But
I think we should warn people about that, though.
I think so too. We absolutely need to put a preface on every episode. Warning: the thing you're about to listen to. We do have a slew of questions for y'all. Before we get into the questions, let me go over. You know what? I forgot to put a thing up for it, but I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn. We did determine the December recipe. We were going to do the American Brown Ale, James, but no. Todd thought, let's do James's Brown Ale. So we're doing the James Brown Ale. Let me plaster it here. Bloop. After the fact, I edited that in. I'll make some good artwork real quick. I'm excited for it. You have to send me the recipe at some point. But you haven't. When's the last time you brewed the James Brown Ale? Like 2 years? Or no, not quite.
That's been when I made the recipe, I think.
Yeah, which was like, I think early last year, right? So it's going on.
Was it?
I think the last time Todd had it on tap was like March of last year. And because that was when the James Brown Ale, and I think the description he put, I feel good, as the first.
I feel good.
So I'm excited. People, and I did like a rough poll with some of the people that I contact on the Chub Club through text, and they're like, yeah, the American Brown Ale is a great recipe. We've done it before. It was a popular recipe when we were in that side of the business, but no one's brewed the James Brown Ale but you. So we are looking forward to that. We did Todd's ESB, do the James Brown Ale. In the future, maybe we'll do the Josh Kolsch, or no, it's not even my Kolsch. I take your recipe. I'm brewing when I brew Kolsch.
I take it, make it your own.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of people, that is a subject. I'll digress, but it's relevant. Surprise, spoiler, people who listen. It is relevant digression. A lot of people emphasize like this whole, I want to be original and I want to make my own recipe and but they don't realize like everything under the sun's been done, guys. Like don't be ashamed of that. I'm just saying, like, if you tweet someone else's recipe, don't feel like you're a phony or something. That's what recipe making is. It's starting with the base and making it how you like it. And it could be as simple as, I'm just changing the hops. Like on this Kolsch, I don't want to use Hallertau. I want to use Saaz or whatever. I made that part up. That I use Hallertau or Tradition is what I've been throwing in there. Or when I'm out of Hallertau, I think I put Mount. What is it? Is it Mount Hood? Not Mount Hood. Oh gosh, is Mount Hood is that a fort, or is that a mountain, or is that an actual hop type? What am I thinking? Oh my gosh, I'm not going to edit this out because that's a lot of work, but I feel like an idiot now. But either way, there's substitutions that I'll do. But what I'm basically saying is tweaking recipes doesn't make you any less. It doesn't make it any less your own recipe,
right?
But and also too,
you can it's just if you know the recipe as far as the base malt and the percentages typically you would do, then that's really all you need to worry about. You can make your own recipe.
Exactly. And I think your Kolsch, actually, you do 95.5, right? It's like Pilsen. I do Vienna. 90%
Pilsen malt, and then I'll do like 5% Caravien. Yeah. And then I'll do the rest like Carapils. I think that's how I do it.
Or Vienna. I think it is Vienna.
Or maybe it's Vienna.
It's Vienna and Caravien.
I haven't brewed it in so long.
So I was just about to segue into, you haven't brewed it in a long time. I'm going to this weekend. I'm going to brew a Kolsch. I took home.
Cool. I'm doing a alt beer tomorrow.
No way. Really?
Yeah. I've got all the water ready, and all we got to do is get the recipe, get the grains ground, and
buddy,
we'll be good to go.
And there's a lot up there too. And because I didn't prepare for you with our good friends at Imperial Yeast with getting you their Kaiser, what will you be pitching tomorrow? Just like with an alt, do you do Can you do an
I
05? Or what would you do?
There's some Dieter up there.
Oh, you know what? There is some Dieter up there. What I didn't take. You could use Dieter. That's right. It does say on there.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 bags of Dieter. I'd probably use that.
I think there's 4. Right. Or there is at least 3. I took 2, and I think I asked for 6. So there should be 4 actually.
Yeah.
Because I only need 2. I'm doing a 10-gallon batch of Kolsch Saturday. That's what I'm going to brew.
I was looking at Imperial strains under German ales. They have a new one called Gustav, and it's straight out of Cologne, is what it says.
I have not even seen that.
Yeah, G17 Gustav. It's got a phone, so it means call before it called for availability.
Gustav.
That's a new one.
I like that.
Oh, it's commercial, special order only.
That's probably why I've never heard of it.
Yep.
You know what though? I'm such good friends with Owen, the owner. I'm gonna call him.
Do you think you could talk him into getting some?
We'll try it. I'll say, hey man, how what do we gotta do to get? Because when they ship commercial, they ship them in those big old gallon or 3-gallon things, right? Like it's basically like a lot larger quantities than pouches. But yeah, I'll reach out to him, James. I know some people there. We'll see if I can get
maybe we could. It'd be cool if they do a special edition, wouldn't it? Maybe if we did our Kolsch Cup and we did a special edition, that'd be really cool.
Is a great idea. If we could talk, oh my goodness, I like where that's going. Because one, it brings back the Kolsch Cup. That would be good for 2023. You'd be surprised. Well, first off, I think you were surprised when we did the first iteration of Kolsch Cup, how many people wanted to submit. You made me cap it because you were like, Josh, you're an idiot. How much beer do you think we can drink in a day? And I was like, I don't know, boss, a lot. You're like, no, if there's 50 entries and you're trying to do it over 3 days and the final day is the people who got into the second round, you want us to drink, all these beers in the first day. And when you say it like that, that is a lot. So this year with circumstance or whatever, we didn't do Kolsch Cup, but next year I think we're going to limit it to even more. If we do it again, you've told me we had to make some stricter parameters. We have to limit it down to probably 25 or 30 entries, right?
I don't know. Well, we can talk about it. Yeah,
okay.
Maybe we could probably drink more than that.
Okay.
I mean,
well, okay. We'll figure out the details when we want to bring
we have to do it over. I think it works good to do it over 2 days. So you have 2 bottles. You basically try. I don't know. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about it later. People have already been rambling on it. I'm sure people want to get to those questions.
Story of my life.
The good stuff, right?
They do want to get to that, but first, I got to do a little more infomercially stuff. The plug, before we get to a plug for Todd, he's writing an article. Before we get to that, there is still 25% off keg kits at kegconnection.com, 10% off site-wide, and one of my favorites, last week we highlighted the DIY Herm setup that is just dirt cheap if you're trying to go that route and make your own 3-vessel 20-gallon vessel Herm setup. We highlighted that last week. This week I want to highlight it's $107 racetrack keg kit. It's everything but the CO2 cylinder, but it has the keg in it. And some people go, what is racetrack? What is that? Does that make it worse? Does it make it different? No, it's just more. How would you describe racetrack? It's just a proprietary lid that's more oblong, more oval than your average ball lock corny lid. So it's not universal.
Different shape.
It's just different shape. Right? Would you?
Yeah, it's called a racetrack because it looks like an old school racetrack. It's got straight sides and it has an oval ends.
But everything else is the same in regards to it's a ball lock keg. It just has that racetrack lid on it. That's what I think I said it last week. My pop, the nicest keg we have in our stash is actually a racetrack. That one of y'all sent me home beer.
That's mine.
Oh, do you want it back?
Yes, I want it back with beer in it.
Oh, oh my gosh! Y'all didn't even give me any hell for not bringing the breakfast out this last trip. Holy moly!
We're not used to getting
we are so
James,
used to this. We are so used to this.
Oh, it hurts. Yeah. It hurts when.
I mean, the last time you brewed a beer for us, it took
9 weeks,
like 8 weeks before we actually got it.
I'm coming back up this next weekend Sunday. I will put a phone. Hold on, let me do it right now before I forget. remind me on Sunday to take Todd and James's beer with me.
Yeah, look at that. I'm impressed, huh, James?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, see?
Good.
Boom. I've done it. Now
now he's doing appointments on his phone on the podcast.
Now,
oh my gosh.
Now, shut up. So yeah, go to catconnection.com. You can check out the deals there. I'll shut up about that. Our last bit of small talk before we get to the questions. Todd is about to solicit people, and I told him, let's mention it on the show since the email newsletter is one good way, but we have a lot more people who listen.
That's true.
So Todd is gotten the bug. He brewed a Kolsch for a wedding coming up on the 30th of December, and it's one of his best friend's daughters getting married, and they had you also, I say they had you, our good friends at CM Becker built a custom tower for this wedding.
Yes.
And using, I'm assuming a V10 since it's such a fancy
Actually,
location.
our friends at CMB Schonkenlagen.
Yes, CMB Schonkenlagen.
Because we're CM Becker.
You're right. Sorry. Our good friends, Stefan and company at CMB Schonkenlagen in Krefeld, Germany, Deutschland, have built a beautiful custom tower, and they put a V10 faucet on it. It's very beautiful. It illuminates, and Todd built a tower serving bar area. Like, just describe what you did and describe what this whole solicitation's about.
Okay, so what we did is very simple. We just built a wooden frame that has a solid top on it, and we put a hole in it. We put all the holes that we need because it's a little bit different type of tower to be able to mount this tower to it. And then we're just going to take and drape it for the wedding so that kind of matches everything else in the wedding. So you got a real elegant solution for the wedding that doesn't stick out. But it made me think. I did another setup for a cousin last year for her wedding, or actually the very beginning of this year, I think, for her wedding. And they built a bar, and we drilled holes in it, had shanks come through, and then we had the kegs underneath on ice, just like we're doing for this tower. And it made me think, a lot of people probably want to serve beer at their wedding, and a lot of people have served beer at their wedding, but there's not a lot of great information out there on it. So we're working on this information. I'm working on this information, and we're going to put some videos together and really do quite a bit to show people how to set up a system for their wedding so they can serve draft beer at their wedding. I'll be at homebrew or commercial or, brewery beers. It doesn't matter. So what I need help with, and I'd really appreciate it if anybody has photographs of any type of a bar or system that they built for a wedding, particularly if you have some that might have a bride and groom in it or wedding guest, and or even photographs that show how you constructed it, show what the final thing is. Anything you can send me, I'd love to have it. So here's the deal. We're doing 10% off on the site right now, and we're going to give another 10% coupon out to anybody that orders this. Now, Josh, would that stack on the kits too?
Yes, this additional code would stack, which would then give them.
Not sure we can afford that, but okay. Well, I've already committed to it, so that's a lot of discount.
And I'm not editing this out. So
that's 20% off for everything, but end up being 35% off keg kits. It's just a one-time deal if you send a photograph. We don't have to use a photograph. You just have to send it, and it has to be a photograph of a setup in a wedding, not a picture of your wife or something, right?
Yeah, it has to be a relevant picture.
Yeah, it has to be a relevant photograph. Yeah. And if we do use your photograph, then we're on top of you'll still get the discount code, but we're also going to send you a beer line cleaning kit. And that can either be our standard one or our homebrew one. So any photo that we use, we're going to send you that. In addition, we're going to pay for the shipping and send you the kit. So
absolutely.
Again, anybody that's got photographs, I could really, really use more photographs, and I appreciate any help you can give me.
Yeah, and it is a cool little project. And like you said, I didn't realize too till searching, there's not a lot of info out there. And who doesn't want draft beer at their wedding? My wedding was dry because we were young and poor, but weddings today, my wife watches all that garbage TV shows. And
your wedding was dry, completely dry?
It was. It was. My wife just turned 21 and I had just turned 22 and I couldn't afford booze for the get together anyway. It was, my wedding was 6 months before I started working for you, boss. If I just could have waited. If I just
could have waited, we would have had beer at that sucker.
Hey, and I'm about to celebrate my 15th anniversary here in a week. Yeah, in a week.
Maybe we should have beer for that.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will. So anyway, yes, email. You want them to email that to tburns@catconnection, or you want them to email to me? How do you want that to go? Because you probably want me to keep up with
whatever I want it to go to you because you're the one that the article says it's going to you too. Yeah. The email you're sending out says it's going to you, right? So we want to keep it consistent.
Yeah, so you can email it to joshua@homebrew.happyhour.com. You could CC joshua@catconnection.com. That inbox is finally working, friends. I got that figured out. But send that stuff to us, and that would be greatly appreciated so Todd can finish his article project.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then I did put on here for small talk my Kolsch brew day. James is doing an alt brew day. I forgot to remind people, if you want to brew the James Brown Ale with us, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join one of our recipe receiving tiers and you're going to get that. And I do believe, James, what strain of imperial yeast do you think that should ship out with? Would it be flat ship as well? Or should we maybe look at Independence? There's some options there. I won't commit you to it right now. I kind of threw you Johnny on the spot. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But you're going to get a delicious pack, or a pack of premium delicious yeast from our friends at Imperial Yeast when you join our Chub Club. So we do have 3 questions for y'all, starting off with a voicemail. It's our buddy Ron from New Jersey.
Hey Josh, this is Ron from New Jersey. Just calling to say thanks. I do enjoy listening to the show. And a question came up after listening to Todd tell us all about good versus bad regulators last week or recently. Basically, I had a CO2 tank filled a couple of years ago, and I realized that in between the regulator and the tank, there's a little washer. And I asked the guy at the filling station, I'm like, hey, can you give me some more washers? And he gave me some that looked like little woven, hard fiberglass washers. And I'm looking at the one that's in the actual system. It looks like kind of a rubber black O-ring. And I'm wondering, what is the deal with washers between the connection from the arm of the regulator to the actual spigot or spout, whatever you call it, on a gas tank? I'm sorry, I don't know the nomenclature. It's just not my ballywick. But I just want to say I love the show, love all the ideas, love the banter. Keep it up. Josh, you do a pretty good job, too. Thanks. Bye.
I always like being an afterthought. Thanks, Ron from New Jersey. Josh, you do okay, too. It's a great question. We had supplemental from Ron here. I'm going to put it on the screen here. That is the built-in regulator with TapRite regulators. And the 3 of us are no strangers to those things. Wear out. They got to get replaced. It happens. The second photo I'm going to send, bloop, that is what he was given. A lot thicker looking. They're, like he said, look like they're woven fiberglass or something. Todd, again, you're no stranger to working on regulators. Same with you, James. Actually, one of your videos on replacing the bonnet for those TapRites is it's growing in popularity for one of our most watched videos. But so both of you guys are experienced with working on and servicing regulators. What do you think, Todd? Is the shop like being lazy, or is that going to be an acceptable replacement? What would you do?
Okay, so he asked the guy for a washer, and he gave him a CO2 washer. They're pretty. I wouldn't say they're standard. So that fibrous one I've seen that before. The one we sell is a little bit different, and it's basically plastic. It has some grooves in it. Both of them probably work fine. I'm more familiar with the one we carry. And I don't know if you'll put a link to that on the show notes, I guess, Josh.
I can, yes, sir.
Okay, so you'll be able to see that one, and you'll also be able to see the one that's right for the TapRite. So the guy wasn't being lazy. That's not a CO2 washer on the TapRite. That's a built-in O-ring that you actually have to take an Allen screw and take the holder out of it, put a new O-ring in, and screw it back down again. And it's something that if you've got a taprite regulator, you want to use it with that. You don't want to put both in. So if the guy gives you some fibers washers, or he gives you the kind of washer we have, you don't want to put that washer in and use the one that comes with the taprite regulator. You want to use the one that comes with it. Now, if it totally wore out and you couldn't get it to seal, you might be able to use one, but you can run into problems, especially when they're new and working really well when you try to put both in there. The taprite O-ring works pretty well. The only problems that I have with it is that they do tend to wear out, and especially if people tighten them a lot. And people tend to tighten them a lot because they don't want their CO2 leaking on their regulator. So people do tend to go through a lot of those. When I first started using it, I was like, this thing's great. I don't have to worry about losing my washer. It works all the time. But as I've used them more and more over the years, I almost I prefer the washer, I think, now, because with the washer, and in fact, we went through that when we worked on the CMB regulators. Do we want to do this or do we want to do this? And the reason we ended up using the washers because the washers don't wear out. They pretty much last forever. I mean, I'm sure somebody's worn one out, but most people would lose it before they wore it out. That's the reason you need extras. So that's the downfall, is that it's a separate piece and you can take it off the tank and possibly lose it. But I mean, either one though work and work well when they're in decent shape.
All right. So clarify, you may have answered this. I apologize. I was sort of listening, as I always do when you're speaking. I was looking at the photos you sent me on the phone, and then that ironically was not fully listening to you. So are you saying on a taprite that has it built in, if that thing's all worn out, obviously degraded, you need to, if you take it out and use a inserted washer, that's acceptable? Or with taprites, do you always have to replace that built-in one for it to work properly?
You want to, ideally you want to replace it. However, ideally doesn't work when you don't have one and you need to use your CO2 tank today. So can you use the other kind of washer? Yeah, absolutely. I'd have to play around and take one out. You might even, usually the reason you're using it is it's so worn out that it's not sticking out very much. So you could probably use one fine in that circumstance.
I'm with you in your thought process about, I like the inserted ones because, like you said, for me, I know, Josh, you could lose it. But if I don't see it in there, then I know, oh crap, I got to find it or put one in there before I can, you know what I mean? It's like, it's easier for me to notice a missing washer, or if it's in there before I put it on and it seals.
Yeah.
Versus
it kind of stays in there once you put it on and tighten it down the first time. So I think sometimes people are looking for it and it's actually in there. It's still sitting inside the nut. And I don't think losing it's not an enormous issue when you've got a homebrew system, because it's fairly visible, and you probably got your tank in the same place all the time. So
James, you're the gearhead. Let me try to make this relevant. Like, my uncle helped my pop fit something on my vehicle recently, my wife's van, because it was missing a gasket, and he brought this box of a gazillion gaskets and we're just like going through till one fit, and he's like, okay, solve the problem. With regulators, can you be that, I don't want to say flippant, but can you, like, with the regulator thing in there, it's like, let's see, I have a bunch of these nylon ones or rubber ones, and it fits in there, it seems to be sealing, okay, good. Or should you get like OEM type parts or stuff that was made specifically for like, is it you know what, do you know what I'm asking?
Worst case, I mean, you could probably go to the hardware store and find something, but you want to soap it up real good, make sure it's not leaking. I guess it's possible, but that O-ring in the taprite, it's actually squared off, so it may be hard to find something specific.
Oh, it is squared off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not round like a conventional O-ring. So I think I had one of those in the past, and I just put one of those K-connection seals in there and screwed it down. It worked fine.
Right. See, that my cringe idea of the week was going to be go buy a bundle of different O-rings on Amazon because they're dirt cheap and just throw some keg lube on there and put it in there. But no.
But why would you order a bunch on Amazon if you can order the right one?
I didn't say
at
my
the same time.
Cringe idea was a good idea. You're right. What are these O-ring replacements? I don't have it on the screen. They're dirt cheap. They're dirt cheap to get them.
Yeah, they're
if you're
extremely
very reasonably priced, and it's one of those things where like we haven't really mentioned it when people ask what are some what would you recommend I have to work on my keg or whatever, and we're like, oh, you got to have O-ring gaskets, you need lube and all that. Yeah, if you have a draft system, Todd, would you say in your toolkit it's good to have a few extra nylon washers?
Yeah, I mean, I have I have O-rings for the kegs, O-rings for anything that uses O-rings, washers for anything that uses washers, those cupped washers for the swivel nuts. I mean, yeah, I just kind of keep everything because that way most of that stuff is very cheap, and you can spend probably $10 and get everything you need for a backup, and probably less.
But how annoying is it when you need the part and you don't have it? Like that's the worst, because then you're going to be leaking all over the place, which leads me to wrap up his question to ask you, what is it about if that O-ring is in place on the tap right, mm-hmm. and you put the nylon in between, does that just create a little bit of does it make a gap to where you're going to have leaking? Because you said you definitely don't want to do that. Like, don't double up. It's not going to be good. What happens?
Well, it's just like when people put Teflon tape on a fitting that doesn't need Teflon tape. Can you get it to seal? Probably, if you tighten it enough and work on it. But why do something that's redundant if it could possibly cause issues? I mean, why not just use it the way it was designed? That's the way it was used. That's the way it was designed to be used.
Yeah. I thought you were going to do the disconnect analogy or comparison, because the CMB disconnects that have it built in.
Yeah.
And they're touching people. There are people who still want to put the white washer inside the MFL.
The cupped washer.
Yeah. The cupped washer in there. And it's like, you don't have to do it. It's built into the disconnect. That's a perk of the disconnect. And you can get
when you start stacking washers on top of each other, you're asking for a leak.
Absolutely. Where I appreciate the built-in kind of stuff only because you know how lazy I am. But again, with the regulator, I do appreciate, like the CM Becker regulator. If I don't see the washer inserted in there, I know I have to look, because like you said, sometimes it gets itself just in there perfect to where, oh crap, it's basically built in now, or oh crap, I better put one in. Like, as opposed to, I don't check. I had a tap right regulator. I never checked the condition of it, and I don't know how worn out it is until a leak.
Usually I would look at it every time you take it. Every time you're going to attach it to the bottle, I would look at it before I connected it to the bottle.
Yeah. I'll do that for sure.
Well, not just you, but I mean everyone.
Okay, I thought you're right. I thought you were just ribbing me. But anyways, Ron, thank you so much for submitting the question. A great time to remind y'all, if and when you send us a voicemail to 325-305-6107, you do get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. If you go to homebrewhappyhour.com and use that submit a question link at the top of the page, or text us at 325-305-6107, you still get a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty stinking good, which is what our second question, our buddy Evan from Texas, he used the hotline to text us at 325-305-6107, and he wrote, "Hi Josh, I'd leave a voicemail for the extra money and gift card, but I really hate the sound of my voice, LOL." He used a lot of letters and stuff. I'm trying to read them out. He actually wrote, "I'd leave a VM for the XTR $. But anyways, here's my question. I accidentally transferred into my keg through the gas post. That's the shorter dip tube. I had purged the keg and filled it with CO2 through the beer post, and blanked when connecting from my conical to the keg for transferring. It had to have splashed. I'm new to this. Is this splash going to ruin the batch? Will the CO2 in the keg prevent that from happening? It's in the fridge now. I'm scared to tap it." Evan from Waco. Evan from Waco has a good question. I would say it's oxidized, right? Is there any way past that?
I mean, well, why though? But he said he purged the keg and had it full of CO2.
So that does prevent it. Okay, so
there's no oxygen in the keg.
So it can't create enough to get rid of what's in there, because he I guess
create.
I mean, like the splashing isn't forcing. It would be how if you didn't purge it. What is the splashing doing? How is it introducing oxygen?
Yeah, it's just folding the air, and it's getting oxygen in there. But if you purge the keg, you don't have any CO2 in there, then it should be fine. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
there's no oxygen to
so he doesn't have
oxidize the beer.
Yeah, so because he totally got filled it, and especially because I mean I don't know if this actually matters. Y'all can tell me. He did purge it with the liquid line, which is the longer of the dip tube. So
that's what you want to do.
That's good,
right? So
yeah.
in theory, it came from bottom up and pushed it out as he's. So I didn't think of it. I mean, I did think of it that way, but I was thinking like, oh no, it's splashed because that's a high splash. But you're right. There's no oxygen in there to, as Todd said, fold itself into the beer then, so it won't be oxidated. Not oxidated.
Yeah, I mean, you're just introducing oxygen. However, if it's falling and splashing and if there's oxygen, I mean, when you fill so if you don't purge it, let's say you're filling a secondary and you don't purge it, you put the thing on the very bottom and you fill it from the bottom, then you've only got the oxygen on the top, not a very big surface area, and you're filling it up and you're pushing the oxygen out. And then, that's kind of how you're able to do that without oxygenating the beer. But when you let it drop and you get all that agitation, then that's when you really, all your surface area is basically exposed to the oxygen during that process, especially in the beginning when it's really splashing.
So let's agree then that it's probably much ado about nothing. Do y'all still prefer to transfer through the liquid post to make sure it starts filling from the bottom? And if so, why is that?
Yeah. I mean,
because safe insurance.
Okay, right. You're just doubling up on safety. What
if you still have what if you didn't purge it all the way? What if there's still some oxygen in there, kind of thing?
Right.
You just minimize the risk of any kind of oxidation with the wort or the beer.
Right. So there is a chance that Evan didn't purge it correctly, or let's say there is a chance, not making a definitive claim. Sorry, Evan.
Yeah, it'd be very slim because if he purged it correctly, then he's fine.
And the telltale sign of oxidating your beer is the cardboard taste, right? Like that. Mm-hmm. When he pours and he tastes that kind of, and it's pretty unmistakable. It's not like, is that a hint of cardboard? It's like, no, yeah, you'll know if you did it. Is there any? That's like the sign.
Yeah, just don't be afraid to taste it and see what it tastes like. I bet he's fine.
Well, he's in Waco. I need to ask him what type of beer it is and how willing he is to just drive it to us, because we will be taste testers. We've done this before.
Absolutely.
Well, and Waco's. Well, how far is Waco from the office? Like 2 hours?
Yeah, something like that.
It's not bad, Evan. You can make a road trip. We'll do a show of tasting oxidated or not is what we'll call this segment. But so that's interesting. I was prepared for Todd to be like, "Oh, dude, sorry, you messed up." But you're right. I mean, if you properly purge the keg, and like you said, he did it the way that we do it, where the liquid disconnect, the liquid post, and purge from bottom up. He really shouldn't have any issues, even though he transferred through the shorter dip tube.
Yeah, should be fine.
I like that. Short and sweet. Next time, leave a voicemail, Evan, and get that extra $10 for a $25 gift card. We're flying.
Yeah, we want to hear your goofy voice, Evan. What can we say?
People have to hear mine every week, and I am always surprised when people are like, I hate the sound of my voice. Are you Mickey Mouse? How much more worse can your voice be than mine? I bet
his voice is probably better than all three of ours.
Absolutely.
Right? Y'all are talking about voices. I absolutely have the worst one by far. Yeah, y'all beat.
I got you beat. Which, by the way, let me. We have time. Let me just digress real quick. I have to admit to our YouTube audience and our audio audience, I'll explain. I'm wearing a sweatshirt because I pumped down my air conditioner to like 68. Getting the room kind of prepped for brewing. I'm going to have ferment in here, that Kolsch, but I'm only wearing a sweatshirt because of that, because it is what 80 is right now. My Google Hub says it's 81 degrees in San Marcos.
It's absolutely beautiful outside.
It is.
Yeah, but it's a phony December. Go ahead, Todd.
James. He's going to take the nap this afternoon. That's why he took his temperature down so much.
I'm getting cozy. I'm getting nice.
It's going to be hard to get a hold of him
getting
around 2
nice.
o'clock today.
We have it. Yeah. You know what? People listening, I publish this like as soon as I get it processed, it publishes. If y'all go to kegconnection.com, go to the Kegerator or go to the Nitro cold brew kits. If by the time people are consuming this, y'all go to that, and all those kits aren't updated with CM Becker regulators on the photo. Y'all let Todd know. Y'all email Todd, and he'll give you a 5% off. No, I don't know what he's doing, because that's
so.
Todd has accused me of like, what are you
go look?
What are you doing? What have you been doing today?
He's been working on them all day, but I keep looking. And there's 9 of them. There's no change at all.
The first one does have it updated already. I did that before the call, so if we brought it up, I could say what?
Nope, not updated.
That's the CM Becker regulator on the one faucet basic or one faucet tower, maybe. I don't know. By the time people listen to this, they're all going to be done, okay? Because I'm prioritizing. Nothing's worse than a passive-aggressive Todd Burns on the phone. Hey, buddy, you've been working on these a while. Well,
you're right. It is updated. I apologize.
And Look at that. And I'm like, Todd, I have other things I do as well. He's like, yeah, but you've been working on this one, though. So just wanted to see if there was anything you did. I think that's how you worded it. But anyway, yeah, go to those kits, friends. So we do have a third question. I got us another voicemail. It's our buddy Joel from Montana, and it's about maximizing his brew day.
Hey guys, have a question about maximizing my brew day and the size of kettle that I have, and the fun of sharing. That's always fun. So the question is, can I use brewer's friend to calculate if I have, let's say I've been brewing a 10-gallon batch of Kolsch consistently, but I'm unable to share with my friends who brew 15-gallon batches. But I'm brewing it like 4 or 5%, so most likely I'm not stressing my kettle with my grain bill. Could I go on brewer's friend, adjust my batch size to 15, brew that grain, do the boil, even though it's 10 gallons, fill my mash tun afterwards with an extra 5, which would maybe rinse out some of the extra sugars left behind, and then I've made a 15-gallon batch, and then I can share. Or would you rather just raise the ABV in your calculation on Brewer's Friend? Say, instead of a 4% beer, I want to do 6. And so then you could do the same process, brew it, boil it, strain it through, and then add 5 gallons after that. Does that make sense? Joshua, what do you think, buddy?
There we go. Thank you.
Lots of good things about Scott. Thanks for brewing all of Joshua's beer. I mean, good job, Josh.
That's messed up. Joel then he then like texted me like, oh, I might have sounded rude on it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not giving you a gift card. No, I took his question, give him a gift card, but I was like, no, you can't hurt my feelings. You didn't grow up under my pop or work for Todd Burns for 15 years. You can't hurt me. I almost for a while there thought Joel was trying to describe my situation like to a T. Like
I was so excited by the question because of that, Josh. So excited.
No, okay. Well,
idea.
obviously, the real solution is to get a Brautag on sale right now at kegconnection.com and brew 15-gallon batches with your group. But I've never what he's basically describing, James. That's a double brew day at the end of the day, isn't it?
I was going to say, why go through all of that when you could just do 2 batches? And then you got 20 gallons of beer.
And that's what you basically told me when my pop and I did the breakfast stout, where granted the system couldn't, because it's such a boozy beer. But for the Kolsch, that's easy enough. I can get more than 10 gallons out of that on the G40 that I'm currently brewing on. And like you said, two 10-gallon things is the same effort of instead of doing a 10 and a 5.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes everything simpler. Yep. You have a consistent batch, because you have 2 separate kits and everything's the same. So there's no guessing on ABV and batch, what you end up as far as volume, trying to guess where you want to be. Yeah, I know using brewing software, you would get there real close, but I think just make it all simple. Just do 2 batches.
Yeah.
And you have a better product and you'll have what you expect to have at the end of the day.
And like you just said, to answer the main part of his question, yeah, the greatest part about Brewer's Friend or any brewing software that you choose to use, but why wouldn't you use Brewer's Friend, is the scalability, the functionality of being able to scale it however you want in whatever aspect you want. You want more ABV? Type that in, and it tells you what you need to do to achieve that. What I like about Brewer's Friend is you can load up profiles. Same, the G40 does it too, specifically because Grainfather built the app for that machine, so it knows its machines. But you could go on Brewer's Friend and tell it, like, Todd could load a profile for his Brautag, and all the information, the efficiency, the average efficiency he gives, the vessels and all that, and then that also calculates into when you're scaling it, of like, oh, I want to be able to yield 10.9 gallons of my G40, and it tells me, well, then here we recommend making these adjustments. That's what Grainfather app does. I think Brewer's Friend, just you type it in, it doesn't even ask you. It's like, we'll calculate it, bloop, and pops out the information for you. But I don't know how frequently are you guys. I mean, y'all have been brewing on our Herms, the Brautag, for so long. Are you really tweaking that much for scaling recipes? Maybe Todd, when you're trying to maximize the output you get on that, is that when you use Brewer Friends to scale, or are you using Brewer's Friend more as like a recipe holder?
No, I mean, I scale on it. I mean, I think what he's talking about more is, I mean, the concept of what he's talking about is that he uses the amount of grains and the amount of hops for a 15-gallon batch, but he brews it on a 10-gallon system because he doesn't have a 15-gallon system, but he's got the fermenter capacity for 15 gallons. I mean, you'd have to make that a assumption if he's going to brew 15 gallons. Probably going to split it into 3 carboys or something, or 3 buckets, or whatever he uses. So on your breakfast stout, it's such a heavy beer that you just basically run out of space, and it would be very hard to do. But with a Kolsch, all you'd be doing is just making a much stronger Kolsch and then diluting it down in the end with another 5 gallons of water. I think it might work. I actually think it's something you might want to try, because I think you definitely want to do the first option, not the second option, because the second option, he basically was going to use the grains or plug it in so that it would be using more grain, but it wouldn't adjust for the hops. With the first option, he's going to get the right amount of grain, the right amount of hops for 15 gallons, brew 10 gallons, and then add 5 gallons at the end, so that it should bring his ABV
back down to what it wanted.
And the bittering and everything down to where he wants it. And it seems to me like he's basically, what he's doing really is kind of making his own extract, for lack of a better term. And then he's just going to expand that with the water. And I think it would work. I mean, I think it's something you should actually try, Josh. I like the idea.
That's not bad. I don't want to try it with this batch, because what if it turns out bad? Then my Christmas Kolsch is. I'm brewing this Saturday because I want to turn this around by Christmas. I want to be drinking. Y'all's Kolsch you sent with me is basically done, and I want to be drinking Kolsch on Christmas Day. So maybe the next batch, Todd, can I do that?
If you want, I mean, I think it's good. I think it would work, though.
Okay, then what's you're saying I would recalculate my recipe to put a 6.5% or whatever.
No, I mean, no, not at all. I mean, you want to calculate your recipe to do 15-gallon batch with exactly what you want in your end results.
Yes.
And then you brew it on the 10-gallon system, because you've got plenty of room in there, and you're not going to, I don't think you'll have a problem with the volume being too high, or it sticking because you got too much grain, because you don't use that much grain with Kolsch anyway.
Right.
If you were worried about it, you could add some rice hulls or something, but I think it'll be fine. And then at the end, you're just adding the water to bring it up to the 15 gallons, which is going to give you exactly what your numbers were when you put it in the program.
Okay. So you're saying, just to make this straight, because I'm kind of dumb, the grain bill and the hops for a 15 gallon, but the water to grain ratio, just enough to fill it up and or 10 gallons to get it to 10 gallons, and then bringing it up in the fermenter to 15, then pitching my yeast.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think it would work on a Kolsch because it's such a small grain bill to begin with. I don't think it would work on some beers because you'd have too much grain and you'd get it stuck.
I understand that part. The simplicity of it is its friend in this experiment, because like you said, it would be, in theory, it's going to be bringing it to what we shoot for, which is what, 5%? James, what's your Kolsch usually finish? It's like 4.
Something like that.
Like 5.5, or 4.8, or I don't know. I think the one that I just calculated, I used the Grainfather bill. I think it was 4.8, which again is my friend. I love that 4.8 to 5.5 range. That's crushable all day. But Todd, you're okay. I get what you're saying. That is an interest, and whether Joel intended to or not, like my Firmzilla or my Anvil Fermenter King, or what are those, 15.9 gallon capacity? So
I mean, I tell you what, I'll go so far as to guarantee it'll work. If it doesn't work,
no, we got.
I will replace the grains and hops at no charge.
Wait a second. You didn't charge me the first time. Not only that, we have to do some parameters on what works.
Maybe I like that better. A money back guarantee.
We need parameters on what works means, though, because it'll be potable, but is it going to be a good Kolsch is my thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason we have to try it, right?
That is true. In the name of science, we must try it. This is one of those ones I'd love feedback on, because maybe people go, you idiot, Brewer's Friend has the calculator right there for you to do exactly what you're describing. And it'll pump out the number of, you're trying to make this and that. We will, I am soliciting feedback on that along with the wedding photos. And we've been soliciting a lot of stuff lately, but that is a great question, Joel. And a final reminder that when you leave us a voicemail, guys, you get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. And lately, the last 9-10 weeks, I've been instant. When I pick the question, I'm texting them once Todd approves I send the email to Todd and James. They go, we're good to record. Then I reply to people. I don't even know. I'm not convinced Todd's even opening the emails that I send and the MP3s and whatnot. But this week, I think you did. I sent them early enough to where I think you did. Anyways, Joel, thank you so much for submitting that question. Thanks for doing the shout out to my dad. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. And guys, James, best of luck tomorrow on your alt beer brew day.
Thank you.
Send me some pictures.
Oh God, y'all are brewing alt beer and Kolsch. I'm so excited.
And you don't do social media, so send me photos so that I can upload, because if I had a nickel for every time the DMs on Instagram were like, hey, what happened to James's, I don't see his profile anymore, and I have to break their hearts, James, that you don't do
that breaks them.
Well, they're like, I haven't seen anything from James lately. I'm like, yeah, he quit the internet. No, you don't do social at all. So send me some photos tomorrow, James, so I can get them up on our Instagram and show the people the famous alt beer, because you had people reach out to you still to this day about your alt beer recipe, the renowned James Carlson's alt beer recipe. So that'll be fun tomorrow. And like I said, I'm brewing either tomorrow or probably Saturday the Kolsch. So we're gonna have some good beer around here. So, guys, thank y'all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to be back up there Monday, Todd, bright and early.
I know, 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row. I'll see you guys then.
Bye.
All right. See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or leave a voicemail, be Todd's best friend. It's 325-305-6107. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium, delicious recipes from us when you join our Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.